The show is entirely listener supported. That's you. You're listening. If you want to find out how to get bonus episodes, extra episodes, early content, all kinds of stuff, patreon.com/wehaveconcerns. Iron Fist is bad show, Legion is good show. That's how this works, and I'm sorry if you feel differently because it hurts to be wrong, and I don't want you to be wrong, but you are. This is We Have Concerns. Hi, Jeff Canada.
Hi, Anthony Carboni.
Hello, concerned citizens. You know, speaking about Legion, as we just were, and if you want to hear what we said about Legion, I suggest you go to patreon.com/wehaveconcerns to get all of our pre-episode conversations.
All of those conversations that you hear us having the end of are available to people that support the show.
Legion is a very creative show. It's a very different show. It was a very hard show to get on the air. Whenever I hear about something that's like incredibly creative and I love it so much, part of the story is always the artist struggling to even make the thing.
Yeah.
Even when it's like somebody at the height of their powers, at the top of their career, they just can't seem to get the dream project made because it's just too weird, right?
Yeah.
And as people who do creative things, I would say I do creative things for a living.
Yeah.
I have sat in rooms where I'm explaining.
You have a satin room?
I have a satin room. I have many satin rooms.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
One satin room is not enough?
No, not for my creative mind. I must work entirely surrounded in satin. Not only must I work entirely surrounded in satin, Jeff, but I demand to be paid in satin.
Oh, only in just reams of satin.
Just bolts of satin.
My God.
Yeah.
You are decadent, aren't you?
I am extremely decadent, and it's the secret to my creativity, Jeff. I simply cannot be creative in anything other than satin.
Decadence and softness.
Not only... silk won't even work, Jeff.
No, satin only.
Satin only. My mom used to be a big Moody Blues fan.
Oh.
And the song Nights in White Satin, which is about sexing.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I genuinely thought it was about knights riding into battle, and their banners were made of white satin.
Well, that's what's cool about allegories and imagery. It's you can interpret it multiple ways,
even though it's clearly not that.
It's
just a
it's
kid.
about humping.
It's just kid. Yeah, it's about humping. But I just think back and I'm like, as a youth who had no idea what sexual intercourse was, that's adorable.
I thought Like a Virgin.
That is adorable.
I thought Like a Virgin was about a nun.
Yeah,
because that's the only virgin I knew. Virgin Mary.
Let's talk about creativity.
All right.
And let's talk about creative ideas. Creative ideas are very often met with obstruction. They're very often met with like not being understood.
Right. You're not following the prescribed normal avenue of expression.
Exactly. And you would think, what I was going to say is you and I have been in these rooms. We've sat in these rooms across the table from people who say, you guys are creative. We love what you do. What's your idea?
Yeah. Tell us how it's exactly the same as something else we already know.
We give them 3 ideas. They don't understand any of them. And they ask us if we'd like to turn our idea into something that already exists, but has us in it.
Exactly.
And there's a reason for this. It turns out like it is exactly what we think. There was a massive paper done in 2012, and the author of that paper has recently written a book. Her name is Jennifer Mueller. The idea is people say that they respect creativity and they value creativity. Even in jobs, when you ask employers, what do we want? We want somebody who can creatively solve problems.
Yeah.
Here's the problem with that. To solve something means there is a correct answer. The only way to judge an answer against other things, the only way to judge whether an answer is correct is to judge it against past correct answers.
Right.
So when people say they want somebody creative, they want to solve a problem creatively, the problem is they actually can't. They don't.
I think
won't.
What they're actually saying is we want someone to think of the thing that has already worked that we didn't already think of.
Yes.
We just haven't remembered the thing that we already know works, and you didn't tell us the thing that we already know works that has already happened. So be creative in coming up with a thing that we know already works.
Yeah. Listen to this. It says, a choice can only be correct if it matches a paradigm. Creative ideas, by necessity, break paradigms. In fact, my colleagues and I have found that people who are motivated to choose a correct solution demonstrate a clear, negative, but unacknowledged bias against creativity, even when they outwardly claim to love and cherish it.
This is fascinating to me. I love this story. This is fascinating to me because I think this kind of gets at the heart of what is truly creative.
Mm-hmm.
Because my question to you is, does the combination of two existing things constitute creativity? Can you go, it's speed meets Groundhog Day.
Right.
Is that a creative act?
Are you talking about Edge of Tomorrow?
Yes.
Edge of Tomorrow is so good.
I know. I love that movie, but I just pulled it out of my ass.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, I think that is sort of the upper limit of what people want, at least certainly in our field, but I think in a lot of other fields where if you're looking for a creative answer, you want it to be two established things or more.
Yeah.
Even a product, it's an internet browser and a phone.
With a clock radio.
Exactly. It's a TV and a VCR.
Right.
But I
Kids,
think...
ask your parents.
I think the true creative mind, the true creative act that this article is talking about is something that is born of not just combining existing paradigms. It's breaking out and coming up with something completely different.
Well, and here is what I think is interesting. By way of answering that, I think the real job of a creative person, the real job is to take the fucking out there idea.
Yeah.
And figure out how to turn it into this beats that. Or figure out
that's
job.
The selling job.
That's the job of it, right?
Right.
Like if you want to get this thing done,
right?
Like how can you imagine? How did Noah Hawley sell Legion?
Right.
Right.
It's successful superhero thing meets something else.
Right.
Probably.
Yeah, it's like superheroes meets like Pink Floyd's The Wall, right?
There you go. Yeah.
Right. It's the X-Men and the Wall, or it's this and that. It's you know what I mean. You have to figure out the two things, or you have to figure out how to take that creative idea, explain the creative idea the way it is, but then couch it in enough case studies and other numbers and other supporting things to where you can almost take the creative idea that you're selling and put it aside. Yeah. And make it about the rest of the presentation.
Sure.
And this is something that I come up against all the time. When I am pitching a show or pitching some sort of project, there's the creative idea for the project, and I try to get it out of the way as quickly as possible. Yeah. And then I go to, here are the other things that I've made. Here are the numbers of followers that I have. Here are the numbers of... Here are the other things that are like this that have done well. Here are the trends that people are searching for right now.
Right.
Like it's all that, right? How do I take my creative idea and explain it to somebody who is inherently afraid of creativity? That is my job.
That's the job of somebody that wants to make money being creative.
Yeah.
And I think, and I am right there with you, obviously, but I also think that is not the creative exercise, right? That is doing something in parallel to the creative exercise because you've done something creative and now you have to figure out a way to sell that thing. And I think that what she's talking about in that article is like, we don't actually value the creative exercise.
No.
Divorced from the interpretation of it that you're talking about.
Well, one of the things they talk about in this article is kids in school. We want kids to be creative. We want kids to be problem solvers. We want them to think for themselves. But most kids who question these sort of things or come up with creative ideas or don't follow the rules entirely are labeled disruptive early on.
Sure.
And the problem is what this has led to, what Mueller and other people are saying is this has led to a society that has a inherent fear of creativity. We like being creative. We like having creative outlets, But actually, people under the age of 32, so we're talking about millennials, right? Millennials are less likely to start their own business or creative project than any previous generation.
That's so?
Including the 50s.
That seems completely counterintuitive to me. That's not what I would have expected at all.
Not at all. Because people tend to think like they do have more creative outlets.
Yeah.
But they don't think of those as the job or what they're going to do or the way to succeed.
Interesting.
Or they want to be creative, but they want to be creative for a company.
Yeah.
That gives them the structure and a job and the things. Because they have been taught, we have all been taught that pure creativity is disruptive.
It is. I think it is. I mean, I was trying to think of an example from a field that is truly creative and not just combining things. And the thing that popped into my head, from old art studio classes in college is Marcel Duchamp.
Yeah.
The guy who who said art can be ready-mades, and he's like, no, I'm completely redefining what art can be.
Yeah. And it is this object in a context you did not expect.
Exactly. I put a toilet seat on display in a museum. Now that is art. Now we look at it in a different way. And it's like everybody said, this guy's a crazy person.
Yeah, or pop art or video art or performance art or installation art, like anything in the art community. Even within the scientific community, big ideas tend to not get peer reviewed and not get published.
Right.
Even
it's too crazy.
Even if those ideas are proven because they're considered too out there.
Right.
So this is not even in pure creative. This is not even for just people who are in pure
artistic
quote unquote
fields.
Creative fields. All fields are creative.
Sure.
We don't even respect creativity. We don't even respect thinking outside of the box in fields where it's very important to think outside of the box.
Right.
For technology, for health, for safety, to move the human race forward.
Right.
We just don't recognize it when it's there. We think it's crazy.
It's like we're misdefining it. When you say, I value creativity, I want someone on my team who's creative. It's like, no, you don't want someone who's creative. You want them to just have ideas that you didn't already have, but that also fit into the box of acceptable ideas.
Creativity is not a font choice. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think I've been in so many jobs.
Wingdings, though?
Wingdings was a pretty creative fucking font.
I mean, like, Wingdings is the Marcel Duchamp of fonts.
Wingdings is for sure the Marcel Duchamp of fonts.
If there's one thing you can take away from this show, it is that.
That's a bell, but I'm using it as a cue.
What?
Yeah.
Too creative.
Well, it's literally too creative. You typed out the entire quarterly report in Wingdings. Nobody can read it.
You wanted someone on the team that used creative ideas. And so I decided to Wingdings this motherfucker. I Wingdings the quarterly report.
Arnold, I have to take this to the board tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I don't even know what it says.
Just read it.
I can't read it. It's in Wingding. I can't read it.
You can read it.
I can't.
Bell, curly Q.
Oh,
little shaggy
God.
tail.
You're saying that our return on investment went up 3% over the last quarter.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
This is going to change everything.
And it changed everything. Wingdings ruled the land.
Yeah, man. It's so crazy to have this written down because I think that, like, just in front of me in a paper or in a book, like, because it's something that I've always felt like I have done so many things where I'm just like, these people want me to come up with ideas.
Yeah.
My whole job is to come up with ideas.
Right.
But they don't understand any of the ideas.
Right.
But they think they're super creative and they understand all the ideas.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
and they they really just want me to do is just do this idea over again.
Yeah. Well, the problem is when you marry creativity with revenue generation,
which you have to do. If you want to be creative.
Right.
And you don't want to.
If you also want to
push it to the side, I mean,
if you want to eat and be creative,
I would say that I was equally creative while I was working 4 part-time jobs at the same time. But you know what? I certainly have more time to be creative now that I'm doing it as my living.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where, like, if you rigidly adhere to this system because the system is built to be rigidly adhered to, you will continue to push your creativity off into a corner. And it's just frustrating because even if you get to the level where you are making your living, being creative, you're still dealing with this system every day.
And then
you never get to a point where you're not.
And what happens is company B goes, we want a wingdings guy. Get us a wingdings guy. We need the wingdings guy.
And then all of a sudden everything is wingdings.
We need wongdongs. We need creative thinkers to come up with wongdongs.
No, we're not doing wangdangs.
Why not wangdangs?
It doesn't mean what you think it means.
Oh, darn it. Wongdongs? Whoop-a-doops?
Yeah. I think this is interesting, and I wonder, like, I think I also do it, though.
You do what?
I also
try to put things in a box?
Yeah, of course I do.
Sure.
I 100%
That's how we
do.
interpret stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, that is really ultimately what you're looking for is a way to contextualize any new bit of information. So you go, okay, well, what is this like?
Yeah. Which is what we're built to do. We're classifying machines.
Yeah.
We're pattern recognition machines.
Right.
So we're clearly it's all this, like, so much stuff is coming at us all day, every day from all directions. We need to instantly know whether something is good or bad, worthwhile or not worthwhile.
Yeah.
And the problem when you apply that to a creative idea is, like, shit. There's no knowing whether applying that is going to work.
Yeah. Well, and that's where true courage comes in, because in order to actually express something creatively, you have to set aside the idea that you could fail, because if it's truly creative, it's truly uncharted territory.
Right.
So you could definitely fail. And that's why all of the platitudes you hear from everybody is like, be willing to fail, be willing to, it's not about, it's about getting up and doing it again. It's about learning from failure is a very valuable part of the creative process.
No, if I ever fail even once, Jeff, I'm out.
Well, just because you've never experienced failure before.
Never, Anthony, in my life.
You don't understand what it even feels like.
No, I can't even conceptualize
There's a certain learning process that comes from it.
What is learning?
Yeah. That's a good question.
What is a process?
Oof.
I'll tell you what, I'm a straight shooter that goes from his gut.
Yeah.
I always have and I always will.
That's right. All you know how to do is win.
All I know how to do is win, Jeff. Mm-hmm. That's all I do.
And
creatively win.
I'm getting sick of all your winning.
Me too. Me too. What it must feel like to lose. Sometimes.
It's actually not that bad. It's a good thing sometimes.
Yeah. I don't think it's ever going to happen. Not true.
Not true.
Yeah, so I think this is interesting, and it's made me think about some stuff that I've had on the back burner lately, or some projects that I've been kind of like working on and trying to pitch and trying to make happen. And I'm looking at them and I'm going like, shit, this is not as fun or as creative as I think I initially thought it was. I think I'm playing it safe. And I think it's interesting that you can always fall into this trap.
Right.
And I think I think one of the things that's awful is the more things you do that kind of, whether they work out or not work out, the larger this mental filing cabinet is, and the harder it is to do something that is truly creative or recognize something that is truly creative, because the larger your file cabinet of similar things is, the more things you have to compare to.
That's right.
That's that 37% rule that we were talking about before.
Sure.
Where it's like, once you have too much data,
you paralyze yourself.
Yeah.
And it's also hard because once your file cabinet gets too big, it really looks terrible in your satin rooms.
It's awful.
It clashes.
Let me tell you something about satin filing cabinets. They don't hold any weight.
Well,
papers go everywhere.
But you know what? So nicely.
They feel
soft.
And they feel so good doing it.
You can just roll around on your filing cabinet.
Please.
Who else gets to roll around on their filing cabinet? Nobody.
Garfield.
Let us all be more like Garfield.
Let us all be more like. Let us all hate Mondays together.
An idea to pitch to you.
Lasagna.
It's like Garfield. See, but he's also into satin. Super into satin.
It's like Garfield meets Reservoir Dogs.
He hates Mondays because he got shot in the gut.
Yeah. How do you guys feel about this? Do you think that you are too quick to judge creative ideas, whether they're from yourself or from a friend? Self-judging a creative idea can be like the worst death, the final death.
It is. It is. I mean, I think that we often put more impediments on ourselves than other people put on us, for sure.
Yeah. So are you guys doing that? Do you feel like you're in a place where that happens to you? And how do you mitigate that when it happens to you, when you're trying to be creative and people just aren't getting it? I'd love to hear what you guys do. I'm on Twitter at @acarboni.
I'm at Jeff Cannata.
We also have a Facebook group, which is it's growing.
It's growing.
It's
every day
2 weeks old. It's a beautiful new baby.
It is. It's a creative endeavor that we've come up with. No one has ever thought about it.
No one has ever thought
our
podcast
show meets
Facebook group. We may be the first group on Facebook. I don't know. I've never looked because Facebook is garbage.
That's right.
But if you are on that garbage like I am,
be on our garbage.
Be on our particular garbage. It's facebook.com/groups/we-have-concerns. And hey, do remember that this creative endeavor is entirely supported by you guys.
Yeah.
Patreon.com/we-have-concerns. You can donate a little or a lot. You can.
Satin doesn't pay for itself, folks.
No, God no. And I'm in a satin jumpsuit right now, and it is one of 20, and I need 31 to not repeat them in a month. Patreon.com/we-have-concerns. You can get early episodes, bonus episodes, all kinds of wonderful things. Check it out and help support the show.